How you guys doing? I'm Dr. Obed Magni. Welcome to the Magni Leadership Accelerator. Today, we're going to be talking about 3 proven strategies to help influence anyone. So before we get started, just want to let you know, if you want to accelerate in your career, if you want to get into the C-suite, if you want to be influential to your direct reports, be the best version of yourself, you're in the right place. Please like, share, and subscribe to your friends, your family, anybody who you think can benefit from this information today. Let's get into it. So, as a leader, your ability to influence is your most powerful asset. Duh, because if you can't influence the people around you, you're not going anywhere. You're not going to be able to lead the people that follow you, and you're definitely not going to get the attention, or at least the right attention, from those who work above you in the C-suite when they're looking to promote people into their circle. All right. So if you're unable to influence people, that's pretty much a roadblock that you're just never going to get around or through or under or over or anything like that. All right. So why is it important to have influence? Well, how else are you going to get buy-in to a new strategy? How is it going to motivate your team? Advance in your career. All right. Influence is the currency of success. I'm going to say it again. Influence is the currency of success. Think about somebody who's powerful, or think of a figure, whether it's Martin Luther King, or maybe somebody who's a politician, or maybe somebody who's, into social justice or anything else, whatever it may be, right? What is it that they have? They have a certain level of charisma, a certain level of influence, all right? So even people who don't hold formal titles can still influence other people. And now we live in this complex world where we have AI, and we have constant change. Just, it's almost like what was in today is literally outdated by the same time next week. All right. So if you're looking to get into the C-suite, if you're looking to accelerate in your career, you've got to be able to adapt. One of the things you got to do is be influential. And being influential is something that transcends time, it transcends technology, it transcends everything. This is one of those things in your toolkit that will have you going 5 levels above everybody else simply because you've mastered the art of influence. So, with that being said, the first strategy, you want to connect before you correct. This is the power of empathy and understanding. You got to have that deep understanding of the person that you're connecting with, right? We have 2 ears, 1 mouth for a reason, because you want to listen twice as much. You want to listen to somebody twice as much more than you want to speak with them, all right? So if you're listening to somebody else's perspectives, concerns, their goals, you're already 5 levels, 10 levels above everybody else, because this is how you start to persuade others. I know it sounds weird, right? Oh, how am I going to persuade someone if I'm listening twice as much as talking? That doesn't make any sense. Well, here's the secret sauce. When you're listening to someone and you're asking open-ended questions, all right? So you're not asking questions that require a yes or a no. You're asking a question that's like, hey, tell me what is the implications of us going in this direction? That would be an example of an open-ended question where they have to give you an answer, justify it, articulate it in some way, shape, or form. So you get a deeper understanding. And by doing that, you get to understand what's being said and what's not being said. All right? So make sure you're asking open-ended questions, and make sure you're listening more than you're speaking. All right? That's how you persuade people. All right? You got to acknowledge and you got to validate. So showing respect for their viewpoint by validating their feelings. Even if you don't agree, I cannot stress this enough. Just because they have a perspective or an angle that you may not agree with doesn't mean you still can't be influential, all right? If you want to build trust with others, or at least using this attempt to build trust, it lowers defenses. So this way now, somebody has a position that they have and you don't agree with it, that's cool. That shouldn't just be the end of it. It's like, hey, let me see if I can understand where they're coming from. There could be something that I'm missing. I'm not sure I have the full picture. That's the purpose, all right? And so you're letting that person know that even though you may not agree with them, you're saying, okay, I hear where you're coming from. I guess if I was in your position, with your view and the knowledge that you have, maybe I could see myself saying or thinking the same thing. All right. All you're doing is acknowledging and you're validating. You're not saying you agree. All right. So by doing that, you're building trust. And when people feel heard and understood, they will trust you. When people feel heard and understood, they will trust you. All right. They're going to be more receptive to your ideas, forming the foundation for effective influence. All right. Like I said, if you don't have influence, you're going to be stuck in the mud in any direction that you're trying to go to or go through in your career trajectory. All right. Second strategy, you got to speak their language. This is the art of framing and value proposition. All right. So frame your ideas in terms of the other person's specific goals, priorities, and pain points. Make sure you focus on what benefits them. What does that look like? Let me see if I can give you guys an angle of what that means. So a couple years ago back, I was a police officer, and a coworker of mine, this guy was Mr. Everything was black and white. There was no gray. There was no color. It was this or it was that, and that's it. And even in his conversations, Mr. No Emotions is like, he's just one of those guys. He was just angry at everything and, everything was wrong and so on and so forth. So he's sharing this story with me and, in his normal usual, self, he was done. And then I said, hey, so if I understand you correctly, and I said it in his language, I didn't say it in my language. I didn't say, hey, I interpret that. I did say, hey, I interpret that, but I spoke it in a language that he understood. This was me saying it in his language. Y'all, I am not making this up. It was almost like a magic trick. He was like, hey, yeah, that's exactly, man, finally somebody who understands me. Man, I feel understood. Yo, I'm over here like, oh, that's how that works. So make sure you're speaking. If somebody's giving you information, make sure you speak to them in their language. If there's somebody who's technical, do the best that you can to speak technically to them, right? If there's somebody who, they're kind of jovial or they're always talking about sports, repeat to them what they said using a sports metaphor, if anything. That shows that, hey, I'm meeting you where you are, where you're at, and I'm speaking your language in your world. That person's going to look at you and say, hey, this person literally understands where I'm coming from. All right. How else are you going to build trust, right? If you're going to be influential, you've got to know and understand people where they are. All right. Emphasize what your ideas do for them. So you want something that needs to be done. You're trying to get people to see it in a different perspective or a different light. Make sure it's done in the view that they see things. If anybody who knows me, I'm a big fan of football. I love college football. If I was explaining something related to organizational leadership and they gave me a football term, man, you don't think I'm going to be like, don't stop talking, keep going. I love what I'm hearing. All right. That's just how influence works, y'all. All right. So instead of just talking about the features, what it is, make sure you talk about the outcomes, all right, and what it does to benefit them. So you're leading an organization. If you have people who work in finance, if it's something that's completely unrelated to finance as far as like the topography of it, still speak to it in a language that is understandable and how it benefits them. Obviously, if you have another part of the organization that has nothing to do with finance, let's just say marketing, make sure you speak to how it benefits them in marketing. All right. So that's how you do that. All right. People are influenced by the desired results. Make sure when you talk about resonating the needs, right, you ensure that your proposal directly addresses their needs. So whatever that proposal is, whatever that direction that you're looking to make, whatever that policy change is going to be, make sure that it addresses those specific needs. Make it immediately relevant and compelling to the individual context. All right. I cannot stress this enough. The more you move up in an organization, the less it becomes about you. I'm going to say this one more time. The more you move up in an organization, the more you promote, the less, LESS, all caps, it is about you. All right? The more you make it about your people, the more influence you're going to have. All right? Last but not least, strategy number 3, you want to be the trusted authority. Credibility and consistency, y'all. People see this, all right? You may think they don't, but they do, all right? First thing you got to do is demonstrate expertise. Now, if you follow me on Twitter, Instagram, any of my other socials, you'll see that I almost can't even go 2 tweets or 3 tweets without talking about visibility and the importance of visibility. I'm going to tell you right now, especially in this world today and for tomorrow, if you're not putting it out there, it never happened. I mean, that's just what it comes down to, all right? It's no different when you're leading an organization, all right? If you're that mid-level manager, remember, we're in this age of AI and, downsizing in many respects, and you want to stand out, you want to be the obvious choice. You've got to build influence by showcasing your knowledge, competence, and track record. If you look at my track record, if you look at my resume, my curriculum vitae, it speaks for itself. All right, it's very, very comprehensive. I'm not saying this to brag. All right, that's not my point. Where I'm getting at is if you're a subject matter expert in something, where can people see that demonstration of that? You know what I'm saying? So if I go to your LinkedIn, do I see you posting insights? Do I see you responding to other people's posts regarding whatever said expertise you have? All right, obviously a rhetorical question, but that's something that you want to think about. So you want to speak with confidence. You want to support your ideas with evidence. So don't just say things to say things. Again, I'm just bringing this point, with my CV. I mean, I've written a dissertation. I've written award-winning, peer-reviewed paper. I mean, if you looked at my resume, you will see that it speaks for itself. Your resume, and I'm not talking about just the one on paper, okay? I'm talking about your digital footprint too. Do you have evidence that supports a lot of the things that you're saying? If I see a medical doctor talking about heart surgery, and it's coming from a heart surgeon who's been doing the job for 30 years, yeah, whatever he or she's saying, of course I'm going to trust what they're saying because they've got a body of work that supports that, okay? So I cannot emphasize that point enough. The more visible you are, the more people are going to trust you, okay? Act with integrity, okay? Consistently following through on your commitments. You got to be transparent. You got to act ethically. I know those are like, duh, of course. Here's the thing. We all work, and we've all worked in organizations or around people who are not ethical, all right? And there's some organizations where they promote that stuff. And then it's no surprise, those are the same organizations that you find constantly in litigation. And then people are always leaving. They have a high turnover rate with the recruiting and retention. It's not a surprise, okay? So you want to be the obvious choice. You're the one who's trying to get to the C-suite and trying to, navigate through all these complexities. Make sure you're somebody who follows through on your commitments. Make sure you're somebody who's transparent. And transparency actually makes you stronger, not weaker, all right? If you're being vulnerable, people are going to trust you more, all right? If you come off as a robot and that you've never done anything wrong or anything like that, nobody's going to trust you. They're just going to think you're fake. They might even think you're AI, that you're a robot, all right? So make sure you guys are acting ethically. Remember, trust is built over time through reliable behavior, all right? And be that trusted source. When you're perceived as somebody who's knowledgeable, reliable, trustworthy, people are going to be far more willing to be influenced by you, by your judgment and your leadership, all right? So those are just some quick tidbits on how to influence anyone, your brother, your sister, your family, your friends, your cousins, your coworkers and above, and those who work around you, all right? These are lessons in life. Like I said, this influence transcends careers. If you don't have influence, you're not going to be able to move anywhere in life, all right? So make sure you guys are practicing these tips that I just shared with you. Again, I'm Dr. Obed Magni. Thank you for coming on to the Magni Leadership Accelerator. Make sure you guys download my Magni Leadership Executive Summary. Give you some real quick tips if you want to learn more about a proven method that'll help you get to the next level. And with that, you guys have a great day, and I'll see you soon.